From the mind of Matt Weiner, the director and creator of Mad Men, which is one of the greatest shows ever made, I don't care what anyone says, comes his latest show, The Romanoffs. Let's just get this out of the way. This is one of my favorite shows of 2018. If you're thinking of watching this show, here's a couple things you need to know right off the bat. Number 1, this is not a period piece. It takes place in the modern day and is not a show about the actual historical family, the Romanovs. But very briefly, for the sake of context, the Romanovs were a Russian dynasty that lasted 3 centuries. In 1918, Tsar Nicholas II and his family were all brutally executed at the hands of the Bolsheviks by gunfire as well as stabbing. None were spared, including his wife, his 5 children, and even the servants of the family. That is literally the most brief summary of their story, as I am not knowledgeable on the subject whatsoever, but if you're interested in the history, go check out one of the many movies or documentaries that are out there, or do your own research online. Pretty interesting stuff. For this show, however, the Romanov name functions as more of a motif within the show's narrative. This motif is part of some of the larger themes of the series, such as legacy and identity. The subtle nature of this narrative device brings me to number 2. This show is an anthology series, meaning that each episode contains a different and separate story, with different characters in different places. Now, there are some exceptions to this, as you'll discover during your journey through the series. There are instances where characters or places from other episodes will be referenced, and in 1 or 2 cases, a character or 2 might make an appearance in another episode besides their own. I'll leave it at that and let you discover all the connecting threads yourself. The other constant throughout the show, as I began explaining before, is the motif of the Romanov name. No matter how different each episode is otherwise, they all feature at least one character that claims to be a descendant of the Romanovs. This claim to legacy is part of the identity these characters have created for themselves. It ties in with the lives they lead and how they see the world. The presence of this motif varies from episode to episode. Some of these stories feature it at the center of the plot, while others will barely make direct mention of it at all. It's up to you to connect everything together. Finally, number 3. These episodes are each practically a movie on their own. And while I certainly mean that in the sense of production quality and narrative as well, I'm giving you this as a fair warning in terms of duration. Some of the episodes are an hour and a half long, and most are over an hour. For me, this is one of the best parts of the show. It really allows each story to evolve and take on a life of its own. But I thought I'd just mention it so you know in advance. So, from what I've observed, people tend to be divided in regards to the anthology format. It definitely can be a double-edged sword. Personally, I don't have a problem with it, but just like any other narrative, it can be done poorly. I think the main problem people have with it is the concept itself. There are many people who only like series with narrative arcs that extend throughout the show. This format allows characters to grow and develop, for an extended fictional universe to be established that an audience can return to every episode. The problem, then, with the anthology format is that people feel they can't connect with characters or be immersed in the stories since they only last 1 episode. Along the same line, if they do connect with either the character or the story, they feel like everything is being snatched away from them as soon as the next episode begins. I feel like the episode length of this series is a great starting point for combating these potential problems. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm a huge fan of Mad Men, which is a great example of a beautifully and masterfully extended and continuously evolving narrative. For the Romanovs, you just need to have the right attitude going into it, and just accept that it's a whole different style. If Mad Men was a novel, consider the Romanovs a collection of short stories or poems. Look, it's not for everyone. Maybe you watch the first episode and don't like it, but that's part of the beauty of it. If you hate one of the episodes, just try another. They're all different in their own way. One thing you can count on to be consistent, even if it's not the actual storyline episode to episode, is the quality. The show is amazingly well done. The writing is great, as fans of Mad Men won't be surprised with. The cinematography is amazing, as is the set design. It's just a top-of-the-line, high-quality production. The casting for the show is also fantastic, and as part of my pitch for you to check out the Romanovs, let's just go through some of the actors that are on this show, because it is truly an ensemble all-star cast. Christina Hendricks, who's been in Mad Men and movies like Drive. Annette Mahendru, who's been in The Americans and The Blacklist and Penguins of Madagascar. Janet Montgomery, who you know from Salem or New Amsterdam. Diane Lane, yes, Diane Lane, the GOAT, who you know from Unfaithful, Under the Tuscan Sun. I guess she was in House of Cards, Batman vs. Superman. Amanda Peet, who's been in 2012, Saving Silverman, A Lot Like Love, Identity, The Whole Nine Yards, and Brockmire. Aaron Eckhart, who you know from The Dark Knight, Sully, and Thank You for Smoking. Carrie Bichet, who's been in Halt and Catch Fire, Argo, and Narcos. Hugh Skinner, who's been in Mamma Mia, Here We Go, Fleabag, Les Miserables, and The Windsors. And the legend Roger Sterling himself, John Slattery, who's been in Mad Men, Spotlight, God's Pocket, Iron Man 2, and many others. Andrew Rannells, who's been in Girls, Black Monday, The New Normal, and The Intern. Another Matt Weiner Mad Men veteran, J.R. Ferguson, who's been in Mad Men, of course, as well as Living Biblically and The Real O'Neills. J.J. Field, who's been in Turn, Washington Spies, Centurion, and Captain America, The First Avenger. Jing Lucy, who you know from Crazy Rich Asians, but is not Constance Wu. This is a different person. Survivor and Before I Go to Sleep. Cara Buono, who you might know from Stranger Things, also was in Mad Men, The Sopranos. Martha Keller, holy shit, Marathon Man. That is some that's some OG shit. Corey Stoll from House of Cards, Ant-Man, The Strain, First Man, Catherine Hahn, Bad Moms, Step Brothers, Hotel Transylvania, A Bad Mom's Christmas, and Ron Livingston, who you know from Office Space, Band of Brothers, and The Conjuring? Really? Wow, I didn't know that. Pretty much every actor within this ensemble cast plays their parts to perfection, with more than a few standout performances. While the great acting quality in a general sense is a plus for the show on its own, this all-star-like cast serves as a draw for anyone that are fans of any one of these actors. Weiner creates a stage upon which they really get a chance to flex their acting muscles, and every one of them gets a spotlight within their own designated episode. So, I've been going on and on about the format and some of the characteristics of the show, but I realize I haven't exactly told you what the Romanoffs is about. Well, that's because it's a little more complex than simply a hook-style plot. Some of this, of course, has to do with the anthology format itself. Also, there's the fact I don't want to over-explain it either, since I think the best way to experience the show is to just dive in as blind as possible. But anyways, here's the basic idea. Each episode tells a different story, centered around a main character and their life. In most cases, this main character is one who claims to be a descendant of the Romanoffs, but this isn't always the case. The show is very much centered around the theme of identity. Think of each episode as an individual portrait of a character, exploring who they believe they are, who they want to be, or who they wish they weren't. While identity spans across the entire show, there are other themes that are touched upon within individual episodes, such as sexuality, racism, human nature, morality, all that good stuff. Here's where we get to one of the strongest qualities of the show. What makes it so comprehensive and places it above and separates it from so many of the other shows that come out these days. These stories aren't just a look into different lives, but different worlds, different cultures, different languages, and different genres, all within one show. Shot on location, the Romanoffs comes at you from all over the globe. From New York City, to France, to Hong Kong, to London, Mexico City, Russia, and Austria. This is why the anthology format is justified, in my opinion, as it allows for the creation of this masterful collage, rich with cinematic quality. Okay, yeah, you get the idea. In this sense, the show manages to be both entertaining as well as educational at the same time. It forces its audience to explore new areas of cinema that they might not have chosen to explore on their own. The main example of this is the international, multilingual aspect of the Romanoffs. For all the fans of foreign films and foreign series who have no problem with subtitles, go ahead and just ignore what I'm about to say, because this isn't meant for you. Right now, I'm talking to the people who might be avid movie or series watchers, but refuse to watch anything with subtitles, and therefore anything from another country. Well, guess what? You're missing out. Not only that, you will never be a true movie buff or aficionado or whatever you want to call it until you take this next step and go international with your tastes. And here's the perfect chance. The Romanoffs is like a starter kit, a beginner's guide, a sampler, whatever you want to call it, for international cinema. It'll widen your palette and will still be accessible enough for your English-only trained ears. So for anybody saying, I don't want to read subtitles, it's too much work, If you can do all that multitasking on your phone every day, you can do this. Trust me. Coming back to the theme of identity, where do we see ourselves the most clearly? When we travel. When we are in unfamiliar places, out of context, out of our comfort zone. This show doesn't just implement this concept within the narrative or upon its characters, but also with its audience as well. What do I mean by that? I mean get out of your comfort zone and read some subtitles. So, here's the bottom line. In case you didn't take the hint, this show is amazing. Truly a masterpiece of filmmaking and storytelling, visually precise and aesthetically pleasing, textured, layered, a work of art, blah 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 blah. Look, this might not be your cup of tea, and that's fine, but I would definitely recommend you at least go check it out, even if it's just for an episode or two. It's on Amazon Prime, 1 season, 8 episodes, The Romanoffs. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more videos, and I'll catch you guys next time. This is TwoTenEast, and I'm out.